Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2024, and today I want to talk to you about Listening 101. We live in a world now where a lot of people do not feel as though they are listened to. A lot of people do not feel as though they're being heard. I think we have a lot of strong talkers in the world. Everybody wants to convey a message, but very few people know how to listen and listen effectively. So I decided to do a video kind of giving some tips on how to be a strong listener. One, when someone is speaking, you're not. When someone is speaking, you are listening. You are giving direct eye contact. You are attending through attending responses such as, yep, tell me more about that. Yes, yes. Those are attending responses and attending behaviors. It shows the person that you are engaged, especially when you're looking at them and you are really invested in what they have to say. Once again, you're not speaking. You are not speaking. Also, how to listen effectively. You wait at least 2 seconds until after that person is done speaking before you reply and before you respond. I think oftentimes we are in a mad dash to be heard. We are in a rush to convey our message that we really do not listen effectively. I think also another tool that can be helpful is acknowledging what the person has said, summarizing, so that way you know that you're on the same page. And if by chance you're not, you can offer a clarifying question to help you get on the same page. What does that look like in real time? Well, that looks like you're listening. You summarize what they're saying. For example, I heard you say that you needed more space. Then they say, that's not what I meant. Oh, can you tell me what you did mean? What did you mean when you said this? Oh, I heard you say this. Just keep on asking those clarifying questions so that way you can really get to the heart of what a person is saying. Truth be told, listening is an act of love. And you can tell whether or not people really genuinely care about you and really love you by how well they listen to you. A lot of times it's also looking and studying a person's body language. We're not only listening to what they're saying to us directly, we're also looking at what their body is saying, body speak. What is someone's body trying to convey to you? Is what they're saying and their body language congruent? Do you notice some kind of incongruence with their body language? Definitely pick up on that, It'll help you to assess a person's sincerity. It'll help you also assess a person's interest and feelings, their true feelings. I think a lot of times, truth be told, the fear is that if I listen, the other person will not let me get a word in edgewise, because that has been a common fear for me. And not necessarily a fear, but just more of an irritant, where a person is a conversational narcissist and they continue to monopolize the conversation. They just want to put you in the role of listener. And that's unfair. So in situations like that, it becomes really important that you become very assertive. You have to get your point across. You have to just get in there. And you could also make a comment. I've noticed that I've listened to you for about 15 minutes. I really would like to be listened to as well. I want to make sure that we both are heard and that this is a mutual exchange that's beneficial for both parties. How does that sound? Because oftentimes you have to be very transparent. You have to be very clear with people, because there are some people who will keep on talking and they just won't stop. They just have a lot to say. They are hyper verbose. They just are unable to pick up those social cues. And even if they are, they just want to relieve themselves. And their anxiety causes them to talk, Oftentimes, those who talk like that are lonely. They suffer from anxiety. There's other issues that are going on and at work. And so it's nice and all well and good to listen, but there are some times, and I want to put this out there are some times when you have to assert yourself in a conversation and demand to be heard. You have to. I think listening also requires a willingness to manage the silences. Let's just say that. There's going to come a period where there's going to be silence, right? And as a person who listens, that's okay. We don't always have to fill in the silence with something to say. You can let those silences, those pregnant pauses, work themselves out. There's space. Sometimes you need space to absorb the message of what someone's trying to say. So let that happen. Let the silence carry the message. It's important that you allow the silence to really carry the message. There is a silence. Let me just start again. There is a science to effective use of silence. I'll say that again. There is a science to effective use of silence. And that silence allows space for a person to process. And that's necessary. You need that space to process what someone is trying to tell you. Oftentimes people, they come with heavy, heavy emotions and big feelings. And sometimes that can be really, really overwhelming. And so that silence allows you a chance to digest, to process, also to think of a response that is comforting depending on what is being said to you. You want to respond appropriately, so you want to be able to zero in. And that's where also being able to summarize and acknowledge what a person is saying. Really just acknowledge what they're saying. I hear what you're saying. You're coming in loud and clear. If I'm correct, what you're saying to me is bop, 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 bop. Summarize. I think a lot of times, and they call that reflective listening. Being able to reflect back to another person what they just said to you. That is really, really important. As I mentioned before, people just don't want to listen anymore. And I think that's what's creating a lot of tension, a lot of unnecessary conflict. People get into these tangles because they just don't listen effectively. And a lot of it is a lot of power struggles. I've noticed that I have sat at tables and I have been in spaces where people, they get into these constant power struggles because of their unwillingness to listen and to just let the silence speak. But oftentimes they have to feel that because they want to be in control. They want to assert their dominance, and they want to let everyone know that they are the ones in control. It's really just sad. It's really just the behavior of a very, very insecure personality type. And so I think that oftentimes it's, they say silence is golden. And I think people need to really, really, really just learn how to listen better. And the thing about it is this: as the listener, you also have to learn how to end a conversation too. Because like I mentioned before, there are some people who just don't know when to shut up. They just don't know when to shut up, and they will keep a conversation going on and on and on. And before you know it, they feel relieved, but you're left feeling heavy. You're left walking away from that conversation feeling heavy, feeling burdened, feeling as though it was unfair. It was an unfair exchange. And so it's kind of like you feel gypped. You feel like you've been gypped and played. And I think, to be honest, for a conversation, prefix meaning to, for a conversation to be effective, both parties have to they have to strike a balance between listening and also talking. For a conversation to really feel good, for you to walk away from a conversation feeling good, there has to be a proper balance with both parties between talking and listening. I don't know about you, but when I think about the most effective conversations that I've had and the most stimulating and the most just soul enriching conversations, I realize that they have been with people who have tuned in their body language, what they're not saying, what their body is conveying, the way that they listen to you. It makes you feel held. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel finally somebody gets it. And in those moments when they don't, they are committed to trying to get it. They are committed to trying to unearth what your experience is. And that feels so good when you feel as though a person is on the journey with you. They are your co-pilot, you know? They are collaborating with you. You know, it feels so good to feel like there is somebody in the ring fighting with you and fighting to know you, you know? You have a partner in crime, so to speak. You know, there's a partner here trying to fight to get to know you. That feels good. That's why I think, truth be told, people pay for therapy, because this is the only space where a person is committed to listening to you. This is the only space where a person really, really wants to help you identify certain patterns in your behavior that may be counterproductive. They are committed to trying to make you a better person by way of listening. Their presence and the way that they attend is such a gift, and it makes you feel so good. That's why people love therapy. You know, they also can pick up some skills and some tools, but I think majority of it is just knowing that there's somebody there who is listening and someone that is committed to attending to you. They are attending to you. And so my thing is this: if you want to be an effective listener, if you want to make people feel heard, if you want to walk away from conversations ensuring that the other person will be motivated to talk to you in the future, you got to work on your listening skills. You have to make sure that you are attending, that you are genuinely interested, that you're giving that eye contact, that your face is not buried in a phone or a device or a book, or you're looking this way, that way, because that conveys disinterest. That conveys a lack of care and a lack of concern. And then people feel as though, okay, if I'm not going to get listened to, well, then guess what? I'm not listening. So it really undermines the purpose of communication. You want to connect. The idea is to connect, right? Or in some cases, to impart some information to another person. So you want to make sure that you are listening, really listening. So I hope that this video was helpful, because listening, I'm starting to realize, is an art form. It is an art, and a lot of people do not have that gift. Listening is a gift. And I think a lot of people just don't know how to. And this is why a lot of people just don't want to talk to them. You know, I've dealt with people who, after dealing with them, I already knew that I would not be associating with them again, because I realized, my spirit realized, that these people do not hold me the way that I need to be held. They don't provide a holding environment that is nurturing, that is caring, that is supportive. They don't offer that. And so all I find is that I'm going to be the one that has to carry the friendship, or carry the communication, with me typecast in the role of listener and them in the role of talker. Not fair. That inequity, I can't. It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't balance. When I try to balance that out, it doesn't balance. And if I can't balance it out, if I can't make sense of it, then that's my how you say, that's my cue that this friendship is not going to work. Because if you're over talking, if you just continue to interrupt, if you continue to try to bogart the conversation, I gotta go. I can't be involved in that type of one-sided situation. It's not gonna work. So if you really, really want to be heard, you need to start by listening first. If you like it when other people listen to you, well, then you also need to make an effort to listen effectively. Not just nod your head and then when a person asks you, did you hear what I said? Yeah, you can't even repeat back. I think we get so lost in trying to think of what to say and how to respond that we really don't absorb the message. That's another feature of listening I want to talk about. Do we internalize what a person is saying? Do we absorb what they're saying? There's no internalization of a person's message, and so they feel as though their message is tolerated, not really genuinely accepted, not really genuinely heard. You gotta try to make a person feel as though you are listening sincerely, that their message is being received, that the information is being processed and incorporated somehow within how they move, within how they do things. It feels nice when someone listens to you and really, really values and takes to heart what you're saying. It feels so good because then you feel like, wow, that person has made a home for me in their heart. That person has made a wonderful home for me in their heart. And now I feel safe to do the same thing. Now I provide a home for them in my heart. And those homes that we have, it just feels so good. You can finally relax. How many of y'all out there, I'm just going to pose this question, feel a wave of relief when you arrive home from work? Once you close the door, or once you put the key inside the lock, you turn, you open your door, and then you close the door and you lock the world out, don't you feel a sense of relief? There is a sense of relief. Going home makes you feel a sense of relief. And that's what happens when you listen to somebody. You're bringing them home, not just to themselves, but you're also bringing them home inside your heart. And that's a comforting feeling, coming home. A good listener knows how to bring someone home to themselves and also how to bring them into a space where they feel cared for, nurtured, safe. That is such a wonderful feeling. So I'm hoping that my message landed safely on your ears and your heart. And I hope that this will motivate you to be a better listener and to really, really consider another person's point of view. This is Lewis Speaks, wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful 2024. Peace, y'all.